After witnessing the devastating power of the first atomic bomb, Oppenheimer famously quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, saying, "Now I am becoming death, the destroyer of worlds." Imagine constructing a force so powerful and destructive it consumes not just its targets, but also its creator. That was the haunting reality for J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of America's atomic bomb. J. Robert Oppenheimer was born on April 22, 1904, in New York City. A child of affluent German immigrants, he grew up in a stimulating environment that nurtured his intellectual curiosity. A turning point was his introduction to a mineral collection at age 5, sparking a lifelong interest in physics and chemistry. Oppenheimer's exceptional intellect was evident from his early schooling. At the Ethical Culture School in New York, he excelled, showing a particularly keen interest in literature, Greek, and French. This wasn't a child merely content with school textbooks. His curious nature led him to the New York Public Library, where he was often found buried in advanced science books. His passion for science led him to Harvard in 1922, where his interest in atomic physics was piqued. He graduated with highest honors in just 3 years. This was an era of groundbreaking discoveries in quantum mechanics, and Oppenheimer was exactly at the center of it, ready to leave his own mark. As Oppenheimer was immersing himself in the scientific wonders of atomic physics, the world outside the laboratories was turning increasingly disruptive. The 1930s were marked by the rise of fascism in Germany, a political shift that ignited the fuse of World War II. Oppenheimer was deeply affected by these political winds, particularly the book burnings in Germany in 1933 profoundly disturbed him. He commented on the event saying, "It was a revolting spectacle, and it was revolting to realize how easily swayed people could be." This realization awakened a political consciousness in him. Notably, these events began to shape his career decisions. Oppenheimer, the scientist, began to see the practical implications of his work. The rise of totalitarian regimes, especially one that seemed aggressively anti-intellectual, brought forth a newfound urgency in his scientific pursuits. He began to understand that the power of atomic energy, which he had been studying with so much interest, could be harnessed not just for constructive purposes, but could also become a powerful weapon in the wrong hands. In this changing world, Oppenheimer's path took a decisive turn. The year was 1942, and Oppenheimer was appointed as the director of the Los Alamos Laboratory in New Mexico. His task? To lead the ambitious Manhattan Project, aiming to construct the world's first atomic bomb. Over 6,000 people were involved, yet Oppenheimer stood at the forefront. Despite the immense pressure and secrecy, he promoted a collaborative environment, steering the project with his scientific expertise and organizational skills. He transformed Los Alamos from a boys' ranch school into a bustling hub of scientific innovation. The team's relentless work led to the successful creation and testing of the atomic bomb on July 16, 1945. Codenamed Trinity, the test resulted in an explosion equivalent to about 20 kilotons of TNT, marking the dawn of the nuclear age. Reflecting upon the event, Oppenheimer famously quoted from the Bhagavad Gita,
"Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Little did he know how prophetic his words would become. Oppenheimer's statement following the Trinity test foreshadowed a growing internal conflict. His awe-inspiring creation was soon unleashed on Hiroshima on August 16, 1945, and Nagasaki 3 days later. From an initial budget of $6,000, the Manhattan Project had ballooned to a staggering $2 billion investment by 1945. In return, it produced a weapon that reduced bustling cities to apocalyptic wastelands, claiming an estimated 150,000 to 246,000 lives. As the horrifying impact of the bombings became clear, a sense of remorse began to consume Oppenheimer. The scientist who had been driven by the pursuit of knowledge found himself struggling with the grim reality of his creation. He admitted in a speech at Los Alamos in 1946, "In some sort of crude sense which no vulgarity, no humor, no overstatement can quite extinguish, the physicists have known sin." This guilt cast a shadow over Oppenheimer's remaining life. He had hoped his work would be used to end a war, but the magnitude of destruction left him questioning the ethical implications of his contribution. It was this remorse over the bomb's devastation which steered him towards a more advisory role in atomic policy. Post-war, he became a central figure in establishing and leading the General Advisory Committee of the Atomic Energy Commission. His goal was to ensure nuclear power was utilized for peaceful uses. He opposed the development of the hydrogen bomb, a weapon exponentially more destructive than the atomic bomb. Oppenheimer hoped to limit the scale of nuclear weapons, visualizing a world where atomic energy could be used for constructive purposes. President Truman even offered him substantial funding to head the hydrogen bomb project, but Oppenheimer stood firm against the development of the hydrogen bomb. His stance brought him into conflict with political and military leaders who argued for a strong nuclear arsenal. Tensions peaked during the Cold War era. In 1950, against Oppenheimer's advice, President Truman approved the development of the hydrogen bomb, reflecting the escalating nuclear arms race. Oppenheimer's vision for a controlled nuclear future increasingly put him at odds with the state, straining his relationship with the authorities. These conflicts set the stage for the controversies and accusations that would soon engulf him, further complicating his complex legacy. As Oppenheimer's relationship with the state grew tense, so did the scrutiny of his past. The heat turned up in 1954 when allegations of communist affiliations surfaced. Central to these allegations was his relationship with Jean Tatlock, a known Communist Party member with whom Oppenheimer had an affair in the 1930s. These connections ignited accusations of Oppenheimer being a Soviet spy. Called to testify before a security hearing committee, Oppenheimer faced a long and exhausting inquiry. While he admitted to associations with communist groups during his university years, he completely denied being a Soviet agent. The fallout from these allegations was devastating. Despite decades of service and immeasurable contributions to the nation, Oppenheimer was stripped of his security clearance in 1954, essentially ending his involvement in governmental nuclear policy. It was a hard blow to a man who had given so much, and an illustration of the paranoia and fear that characterized the Cold War era. It would take years before Oppenheimer found a semblance of redemption in the eyes of his nation. The stripping of Oppenheimer's security clearance marked a vital moment in his life, casting a long shadow over his notable career. The committee had found that Oppenheimer's associations and actions had cast doubt on his loyalty, a devastating blow for a man who had dedicated so much to his country's defense. The immediate effect was catastrophic. This decision not only cut him from the policymaking processes he had once significantly influenced, but also made him an outcast in the community he had served. The once respected scientist found himself socially shunned, with many of his colleagues distancing themselves due to fear of guilt by association. In the long term, the disgrace brought an end to Oppenheimer's governmental career. His dreams of controlling nuclear power for peaceful purposes came to a sudden halt. Instead, his life took a turn towards academia, where he served as the director of the Institute for Advanced Study until his retirement in 1966. Despite the controversy that clouded his later life, Oppenheimer's dedication to science never dwindled. He found comfort in academia, where he was able to influence the next generation of scientists. While his governmental career ended abruptly, his intellectual contributions continued, reminding the world of the scientist beneath the scandal. Public opinion, initially affected by the drama of the hearings, gradually shifted. Many colleagues and students rallied to his support, championing his cause and voicing opposition against the unjust treatment he received. The academic world, where his contributions were undeniable, provided a counter-narrative to the accusations that had stained his reputation. In 1963, a measure of redemption came when Oppenheimer was awarded the Enrico Fermi Award, a prestigious recognition in the world of nuclear energy, along with a tax-free $50,000 prize. In response to this honor, Oppenheimer humbly stated, "I think it is just possible, Mr. President, that it has taken some charity and some courage for you to make this award today." Thus, this public acknowledgement marked a significant turning point in restoring his tarnished reputation, recognizing the enduring impact of his scientific contributions. the father of America's atomic bomb found himself back in the esteem of his nation. Oppenheimer's final years were marked by a relentless battle with throat cancer, caused due to chain smoking, diagnosed in 1965. His once strong voice, known to deliver eloquent speeches, was gradually silenced by this devastating illness. Yet, even in the face of adversity, his unshakable spirit remained intact. Oppenheimer passed away on February the 18th, 1967, leaving behind a legacy that continued to reverberate in the world of physics and beyond.
If you enjoyed this video, please support us by hitting the like button. Stay updated with our latest videos by subscribing to our channel.